Claustrum is a northeastern Italian death metal trio who generally provide a pretty good showing of variety here on this very short but very impactful debut full length. It is just under half an hour, and it does feature a couple of intros and outros, which are quite striking and interesting, but the main bulk of the action here is certainly something closer to abstract or death doom metal of an atmospheric variety, where a fan of something like Disma would understand this record pretty readily, but maybe the newer fan who is interested in everything from Burial to Warp Chamber to Autopsy would also understand what this is as maybe something with an incantation-esque timbre to it, but it goes places and it's a little bit restless. And I think that was the main characteristic I'd pulled from this record, was that it's sort of clawing at the walls and as a point of purpose, because this record formed, or this band formed and started recording music as a way to commune, as a way to deal with the pandemic. It is a pandemic era record in that sense, and it came about because they were locked away from doing whatever else they might have been doing otherwise. Now there is some good pedigree there in terms of a variety of musicians who have played in a lot of different types of bands. I think I premiered an Affliction Vector record a while ago. It was a pretty cool record. And I think that guy is kind of the main person behind this project as well. And so I wouldn't think that this is sort of a cheap result, but it is definitely a pandemic era record in the sense that it came together specifically because of those circumstances. And I think that can be a little bit reflected in the tone and the sort of myriad, all ideas and feeling of the verve of the full listen. Because it does feel like it is in despair, it is spinning out, and it does feel like it's sort of powering through that with aggression. And why don't we get to a song, and then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So there is the sense that this is a very modern record. It is a very run-on thought. It is a lot of thoughts at once, and it all kind of piles on in a way that is, in some sense, very pure death metal, but also abstract and atmospheric death metal, which touches upon death doom in a very strong way, somewhere around the middle. There's a stream of consciousness to it that is very effective, as maybe it's old school inspired, but it's still a very modern sort of feeling to it. And that's a good balance. I think there's a couple of kind of boring pieces or portions of songs where they're just kind of slowly jamming on a riff, which is just okay, but most of it is pretty effective and right to the point. So they're sort of flexing 1 minute, chilling out the next. It's kind of a good listening experience, even if it's not always like full on engaging. So the heaviness is balanced out in a way that's effective as a listen. I don't know if it's memorable at all, but beyond the effect of the full listen. So it is for me more of a long form listen than like I'm not going to grab one song and say that's a single for sure. Like, oh yeah, that's it, that's the riff necessarily. But I think they've got everything else nailed down. So the real thing to iterate upon here isn't so much the design of the sound, which is really finely done. It's more making those ideas into a statement that sticks, that just jams in the head in an effective way. Not so much in a pop way, but in a connection that's impressive and has a lot of feeling to it. Because if they're trying to convey, confusion, disarray, and kind of a violent reaction, I think that definitely comes across. There is just the right sort of death metal, morbid, atmospheric energy here that works for me. But I think that overall, it's a high recommendation. It's much better than average, and it's a really fine debut with a lot of really strong aspects to it. But it does feel like a debut in the sense that they don't have a fully complete idea ready yet. They don't have a joint personality that's ready to feel entirely cohesive yet. So I like that exploratory nature of it. That they were still exploring their self and how they relate to each other. So in that sense, it's a little bit too early to take it too seriously. But what they've done here kind of demands that it be taken seriously because it's so professional. So I really liked that. I think it was a good showing and kind of just an entertaining album that I had a good time with. So you can check out more of my thoughts on the written review, and you can go listen to it tomorrow.